Welcome to the Scariest Things podcast, your gateway to the trends and tropes of the horror genre. This is episode 167. We are waking up early because we are covering daytime horror. Yup, the sun is going to be up when the killings start. From New Orleans, I'm Liz Williams, and I'm joined by
Mike Campbell.
And Eric Lee.
And I'm
Up
gonna
in
let the sun shine. Sunshine. The sun is shining. Sun is shining on daytime horror.
Yep.
So it's curious that we have to have one that talks about daytime horror because that darkness is so prevalent in horror movies. And
things are scarier in the dark, except when they're in the day and you realize how terrifying it is.
It's like things can kill you in the broad daylight. It's
in
just
the day.
that there's, I think there's the lizard brain fear of humans in the dark because our eyes don't cope that well with darkness. We can't see very well, and that's a great place for something to sneak up on you and get you.
Well, but I think the flip side to that coin is the fact that when stuff is light, you can see it in so much more detail. I think that's where the horror comes from, is that it's not hidden, it's not obscured, it's not obtuse. It's very clear, it's very visceral, and it's very shocking. And obviously none of us are going to talk about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but in the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, of which a good portion of
is broad daylight.
Up to and including the opening scene when they pick up the hitchhiker. Right. Nothing more terrifying can happen to you in broad daylight.
Leatherface's first kill, broad daylight.
Broad daylight.
Yeah. Your guard is down. But then your senses are hyper aware because of the fact that, as you just pointed out, your unevolved eyeballs can very well see things during the day.
Right. And darkness offers a crutch to horror movie directors that your effects don't need
hide.
To be. Yeah.
You can
the seams, like your rubbery monsters. If you don't do it well, they don't look real. If you'd better pull off your two-headed transplant well.
That's right.
To hide the seams.
That's true.
And I think that there's you have to be a pretty brazen and confident director to try and pull off horror in the daytime.
Right.
But it's also one of the reasons why some of the very best, like another one we're probably not going to talk about, is Jaws.
Sure.
Right.
What's that?
The
Jaws.
Jaws.
I don't think I've seen
I've never
that.
heard of that one. Is it good?
But there's a bunch of classics like that. We won't have to go into too many of them because we're probably going to talk about some of them.
That's right.
So,
we may.
And I don't want to step on the punchline, but I think the thing that I was most shocked about with daytime horror is how brutal they really were.
Yeah. Well, I think that's part of the fun of we're going to show you everything.
That's right.
It's like if you've got someone with Tom Savini's skills, for example, show off.
All right, let's do it. Who's going first?
Me.
All right.
I'm going to kick off mine, and I'm going to go in order of violence.
Ooh, I like it.
My least violent selection. When this film premiered at Cannes in 1990, Roger Ebert said, "It reminded me of Blue Velvet and the other works of David Lynch, but I think it's better."
Whoa.
And this is Philip Ridley's Reflecting Skin.
Whoa.
Hey now.
You ever seen Reflecting Skin?
No.
Well, Eric, pull
And
up
Mike.
Tubi and you can see it. Neither of you have seen Reflecting Skin?
No.
I've never heard of Reflecting Skin.
Goodness.
Mike's going to Google right
Look
now.
at the cover.
It
You
is
will
IMDb.
recognize the cover of the...
Oh, yeah.
You've seen it. Okay,
Vigo.
so... Yes, this is Viggo Mortensen, one of his first roles. He plays Cameron Dove. Lindsay Duncan plays Dolphin Blue. And Jeremy Cooper plays Seth Dove, who is a little boy who's probably 10. So Ridley said he created a fabulous child-eyed view of what he imagined America to be like. a mythical once upon a time never world where guys look like Marlon Brando and Elvis Presley. Everything is set in a wheat field and it all looks like American Gothic. So that is going to tell you what the aesthetic of this film is. 100% in the daytime. Super saturated sunlight. They even said they spray painted the wheat to be even more wheat colored. More weedy. And this is a bizarre, super arty film. The basic plot is that, he's 8-year-old Seth Dove lives in an American prairie community in the 50s. And Seth and his friends are playing with a frog, and the first big scene is that they blow up this frog. Yeah, so I'm sorry. I think a frog may have been harmed in making this movie. All over this lady, Dolphin Blue, and they think that she is a vampire. Meanwhile, like, a child goes missing, and the cops think it's Seth's father because there had been some like notes of impropriety with him and someone younger before. So he ends his life in a horrific way. So Cameron, Viggo Mortensen, has to come home from the war. The mom is freaking out. The little brother is happy to have him there. And he meets Dolphin Blue and they fall in love. And he tells her that he's been working on the radioactive bomb or whatever. So he's now dying, but the kid thinks she's using her vampire powers to, suck the life out of him. And it's a super bizarre film with cool Cadillacs, old gas stations, little tiny fetuses that Seth Doves talks to. Lots of taxidermy in Dolphin's house.
Ooh.
And it is on a prairie, and it looks like the painting of American Gothic.
So there's a lot of surreal.
It's art.
Yeah, and
art.
Yeah, and so going back to remember that book that was talking about that sort of breaks down how horror gets done. This sounds like this is the uncanny.
Surreal in the uncanny. Yeah, it would probably be the uncanny. I think this guy went on to he directed another film that was good called Heartless. And also, I think he did Tideland. I would have to confirm that, which has the same kind of view. That may have been Terry Gilliam, though. He's got a Terry Gilliam sense to him.
That's a big. That's a
big sense.
Yeah.
Yes, I think it is. I would stand by that, though. And you can see this on Tubi.
Yeah.
Yay, Tubi.
Thanks, Tubi.
Yeah, thanks, Tubi. All right, who's next?
I'll go. This is a 2018 film, which I hadn't actually seen, sad to say. This is a French zombie film directed by Dominique Rocher. It is called The Night Eats the World.
Oh, wait, what you said?
2018 French zombie film, The Night Eats the World.
Awesome movie.
Yeah, a really great film. This involves a young gentleman, Sam, who's an American musician living in Paris, and he goes to his ex-girlfriend's house to recover a bunch of tapes of music he was working on. He goes. She tells him where the tapes are. He goes into the room. His nose starts to bleed. He passes out. The zombie pandemic, not unlike 28 Days Later, but the zombie pandemic begins. He's locked in the room. He's oblivious to the whole thing. He wakes up several days later, and he is in the middle of the zombie pandemic. The thing that's great about it is really it's a rumination on, or a meditation on, the sort of the boredom and doldrums that you would experience in the
being the last man in the world.
In the context, it's not sexy like Will Smith and his German Shepherd sidekick, and it's certainly not like Shaun of the Dead, and it's certainly not like Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead. This is a very different.
By the way, Mike.
Yes.
I should have listened to you. Army of the Dead was awful. I cut that off. All right, back to you.
Army of the Dead is truly an awful film. Truly awful. I think I gave it 1 star.
I thought Mike was being reactionary because of Zack Snyder's pedigree.
Yeah.
And it was
real.
awful.
It is truly awful. The Night Eats the World is not awful. It is an incredible rumination on the zombie genre. It's much like, I don't know if you guys have seen Black Summer, a TV show on Netflix that
it's in my queue.
it's really incredible because it focuses on, again, sort of the doldrums and the in between times between fighting zombies. Not everything is not, you have a 50 caliber machine gun strapped to your shoulder and you're laying waste to zombies. It's what you do in the in between times.
It's melancholy also.
Very melancholy. Funny enough,
super French.
Super French. The end scene I thought was really fascinating. In fact, I had to go look up. I won't spoil the end scene, but I will say that I had to go look up different interpretations that people have laid to the end scene.
Yes.
Because it could either be seen as very hopeful or
really tragic,
or really tragic.
Yeah.
Your take,
Yeah.
your guess. I really adored this film. I would almost probably put it on the best zombie films of all time because it really is an exceptionally well done film. The fella, I can't even remember his name, the actor who plays Sam Danielson Lee, Lie, L-I-E. Lie.
Hey, could be one of me.
Could be a Lee, could be a Lie. We don't know. He is really, really great in this role, and I would encourage folks, if you haven't seen it, go take a look at it. It also has one of the best movie posters in recent history.
Actually,
Yeah,
although
it
looks
poster.
also a lot like As Above, So Below.
It is. It's the
That
it's
is
the
true.
inverse of
Yes.
As Above, So Below.
Right.
It's
also
literally
a Parisian film.
the flipped inverse. Well, it's an American film
Ish.
set in
Yeah, it's
Paris.
very
right.
common.
Right. No, where The Night Eats the World is a Parisian film,
Involving
but
an
an American guy.
Yeah.
So
It's inverse all the way through. All right, Eric, what is your first film of the night in the daytime?
okay. So
The night in the daytime.
my first one is a production from. This is The Host from Bong Joon-ho.
Oh yeah. Heck
Starring
yeah.
Song Kang-ho as Park Gang-do. He is the common belief in hiding your monster is, they say about Alien, right?
Right.
Hiding your monster creates suspense. Jaws, hiding your monsters causes suspense.
Uh-huh.
Honestly, these directors, if they had actually properly operating monsters that they could actually show in the daytime, they wanted to show more of the shark. The shark broke down too much.
Right.
The alien suit, they didn't want to show that it's actually a guy in an alien suit, so they kind of did use shadow and close-ups and stuff like that, not showing that it was a xenomorph in full humanoid form until late. Host gives you something that is straight out of Ray Harryhausen.
Yeah.
And from the Ray Harryhausen school, Beast from 20,000 Fathoms, 20 Million Miles to Earth, Jason and the Argonauts,
Sinbad.
Sinbad and the Golden Voyage, and all those great movies. He was showing off about how seeing the monsters in full daylight, and a lot of the monsters. The movie was about the monsters.
Yeah.
And this was and actually, I think this movie manages to ride the fun drama of a family and a dad who's kind of a fuck up, who runs a food cart and loses his daughter to the monster. Monster snags her in broad daylight, takes it to its cave, and this thing is like something that we've never seen before and haven't seen since. It's a weird frog squid hybrid mutant thing. It's got these massive hands, and at the end of each of its hands are little hands.
Yeah.
And it runs around and it's like a strong hand monster. And its head opens up like before Stranger Things came around and the Demogorgon, where you had the head turned into the flower thing. That had that weird 4-part petal mouth thing, and you'd swallow people whole, and it would show you everything. It was remarkable, and you didn't lose the scariness of the monster because it was a really freaky looking thing. It was asymmetrical, which doesn't, that makes you a little uneasy. It tells you that it's a mutant. I also love that at the very beginning of the movie, they just go over the top. It's like, hey, let's go dump these chemicals into the river.
Right.
and then out comes like monster tadpoles. This is it requires you could watch this without subtitles and you'd get it.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
This is
it's a very, very visually compelling film.
And it is also, along with, I think, A Tale of Two Sisters, part of the early wave that sort of announced that K-horror was coming.
Yeah.
And eventually you get things like Train to Busan and Squid Game and all the things that are, what was I Saw the Devil, right?
Yeah.
So it was early K-horror, and Monster Supreme, and it wanted to show you everything, and the adventures, even like I think probably the running suspicion is don't go out at night because it might hurt you, so they don't, and they stay out of its way, but when they go hunting, they go hunting by the day. So great stuff.
I love Host, and I would argue it is one of probably, I would say, top 3, maybe even higher, all-time monster movies.
Yeah.
What year did Host come out?
Was it 2012?
No, earlier than that. I think. Hold on, let's look up The Host. 2006.
2006.
Oh,
I was
wow.
6 years
I didn't
off.
think it was that old.
And
Yeah.
so
oh my God, it's almost 20 years old.
And given that,
Wow.
I think that the computer graphic, it was a CGI monster, but it doesn't. They rendered it so well for a Korean film. It's like, who knew that the Koreans were doing that? Samsung stuff. I mean, right? Processing. They can do it.
and I'll note that when they did the remake of Godzilla that was like 2012, 2011, 2012, something like that.
Yeah.
When they did that remake, they took a lot of notes from Host in that they showed a lot of Godzilla,
Right.
and there was a lot of daytime fight scenes, which I
Right.
thought was pretty fascinating.
Yeah.
Where Godzilla's fighting the Muto, and
Yeah.
I was like, this has got to be a straight up homage or ripoff of the Host.
Yeah, and I think Godzilla had been like a lot of the times daylight monster, but it was a guy in a rubber suit dancing around.
Yeah.
Almost sometimes literally dancing around.
Yeah.
But they scaried up Godzilla a bunch by taking Host cues. And last thing about the Host, the monster the Bong Joon-ho called the monster Steve Buscemi.
Because he's asymmetrical.
It was like, I forget. He has some funny reason why it was something that he thought that its behavior that was kind of skittish and jumpy,
right.
and so that he thought it
Steve
was Steve
Buscemi.
Buscemi.
All right.
Formerly, it's called the Guomul.
The Guomul,
Yep.
a.k.a. Steve Buscemi.
Right. Okay. Liz, what's your number 2?
Okay, my number 2 is a segment from VHS. It is from the original VHS, and it is called Tuesday the 17th. It is the third segment. One of my favorites, and it's written and directed by Glenn McQuaid, who came from Larry's Glass Eye Picks family, but who made his debut feature film was I Sell the Dead, which we mentioned in the prior episode.
Okay.
Yeah.
Said that was going to come back. So this one, since the segment is probably 20 minutes, I will just give you a very brief description. Is a group of 20-somethings go out for like a walk in this park because one of them says like, hey, I go here every year. Come hang out by this lake with me. So they're like, okay. Turns out she doesn't go there every year. She had just been there one year where all of her friends got murdered by some kind of crazy thing that's called the glitch. And she's going to try to capture it. So as they're walking out, smoking weed, skinny dipping, someone's going to have sex in the woods. When they show different things, the camera will show like a dead body here and a dead body there. So they start to drop one by one. We've got people stabbed in the head repeatedly, throat slit, and stomach slashing and evisceration.
In broad daylight.
In broad daylight. It is the day. It takes place over the course of probably like 2 hours. And I'm not going to tell you if anybody survives, but I mean, hey, the videotape does because it's VHS. So this was just always one of my favorite segments. I thought it looked real cool. I like that it is in the day. VHS actually is kind of a treasure trove to go to for things like this because they are so short. But I just like this one.
I do too.
Holds up. It was always one of my favorite ones. VHS 1 is great and has so many great segments, but this one was always my favorite one.
Heck
so,
yeah.
Tuesday the 17th. The day you go out to the forest and say, all of you are going to die out here.
All right. Speaking of smoking weed and skinny dipping and going out to the forest, this is a 2008 British-French horror thriller film called Eden Lake.
Wow.
Again, I had not seen this. This stars...
I've seen like the movie on a queue or something, but I've never seen the movie.
Yeah.
This is Kelly Riley and Michael Fassbender, directed and written by James Watkins. The last act and the last scene of the film are some of the most brutal scenes in filmmaking history. You heard it here first. I was shocked.
Notorious hard watch.
I was shocked. Really? I was shocked at the turns and twists and choices this film made, but it involves a young gentleman, Michael Fassbender, who picks up his nursery school teacher, Jenny, and they set off for a romantic weekend at a remote lake in the English countryside where he plans to propose. He is a scuba diver, and he brings all of his scuba diving equipment, and he and his lady friend are parked up on the beach enjoying themselves, and a group of young British hooligans, also known as
rapey.
As hoodies. No, it is not rapey at all. But the hoodies are smoking, drinking, making a hell of a lot of noise. And Michael Fassbender, his character, goes over and says, hey, would you guys kind of knock it off? They refuse to knock it off. And not only do they refuse to knock it off, but they eventually steal the couple's car, which of course has all of their belongings, wallets, cell phones, etc. They eventually find the kids where they've abandoned the car and taken all the crap out of the car. And he again confronts them, this time in the night. And this is like the only night scene in the film. He does confront them. And in the middle of the confrontation, Michael Fassbender accidentally stabs I think it's a Rottweiler, if I remember correctly, one of the kids' Rottweilers, and the Rottweiler dies. And of course, the main kid, the main hood, goes completely out of his mind. And from there on out, it's like it may as well be I Spit on Your Grave. I mean, it is absolutely brutal and nasty, both in terms of the anger and violence that the kids exhibit on to Michael Fassbender and his girlfriend. It's shocking. And I think the thing that's incredibly shocking about the film is that it's sort of like a double whammy. It's all set during the day, and you're also dealing with this other taboo in horror, which is, well, you can't really hit kids, and you can't...
The rules have changed.
The rules have changed. And these, probably 12 to 15-year-old hoodlums are really effectively not kids, but they're still kids at their heart. Okay. Yeah. And they're incredibly torn even within this circle of kids in terms of what they should be doing and what the commensurate response to Michael Fassbender and his girlfriend should be. But from there, the film just unwinds in ways that you cannot imagine. I'm still shocked. I am still shocked by Eden Lake. Still shocked by it. Michael Fassbender is great. I don't know that James Watkins, the director who did the film, I don't know that he's directed any other stuff, but this one, also available on Tubi, is awesome. Awesome.
Kelly Riley is kind of hit or miss though. Like, she's in True Detective season 2, which is notoriously terrible, but then she's also Beth right now in Yellowstone and kicking ass. And everybody's loving her.
Go.
So
there you go.
She's a little hit or miss though.
Yeah.
But I'm totally going to watch this.
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
Like tomorrow.
One of the writers for the Guardians said it's basically a mashup of Deliverance, Straw Dogs, and a British film.
That's why I asked if it was rapey.
Yeah, no rapey, but in a British film called Blue Remembered Hills. Right. He said it is nasty, scary, and tight as a drum.
Yeah, that one has it ups the ante for children in horror. As evil. I mean, they go beyond, like Children of the Corn. I mean, or Children of the Damned. They're unsettling kids, and certainly they do violent things. Pet Sematary, that kind of stuff. But these seem like this seems like something that could happen to you. You go to a lake, and some just young punks who have no moral compass and violence in their hearts. What they could do to you, it's just like it's horrifying.
Yeah, and they're trying to elicit that kind of violent reaction from you.
Right. Yeah. They're punks.
Right.
Yeah. All right. So I've got a little film that goes back to way back to 1954.
Whoa!
Ooh.
This is Creature from the Black Lagoon.
I was going to say, how can you tell it's during the day or night?
I know.
Well,
they're like, look, the sun.
Yeah. So this is, again, show your monsters.
Yeah.
This is, to this day, has not been beat. The Black Lagoon Creature, best monster costume on a human ever. I think.
For sure.
I think it passes. I know the xenomorph is cool, but the creature, I love the creature costume. And so this is for those kids of you out there who aren't aware of this movie. It's directed, and actually this is before my time too.
Hey,
so
I only saw this like 2 years ago.
Yep.
After you made me. After you made me watch it.
Directed by Jack Arnold, starring Richard Carlson as Dr. David Reed, the late great Julie Adams playing Kay Lawrence, the beauty in this Beauty and the Beast tale.
I think everybody in this movie is late great.
Yeah.
I'm going to go out on a limb.
Well, I think Julia Adams is also great. Where the rest of these guys are there.
They're just late.
Yeah, Richard Denning, the late Richard Denning, Dr. Mark Williams, and the late great Rico Browning, who was the swimming creature, and Ben Chapman, who was the walking creature. They did different suits for the different actors. This movie, it's super simple plot.
Yeah.
There's a discovery in the Amazon basin that there's evidence of a prehistoric man, a fish man thing, that they found and has actually disturbed a scientific camp down in the basin, and so they set out on a hunt to go find this what it was sort of like. At the time, what do you call it? The missing link.
Yeah,
right? It's like
the
missing link between frogs and humans. Well, it's it's a big jump. But that was. But I think in the time in the 50s, I think the whole thing of Dr. Leakey and that kind of thing. There was everybody looking for the notion of the missing link, and it's like, okay, we're gonna put forward this is our missing link, and the creature is so fabulous looking. That Rico Browning in the water watching Julie Adams swimming, and you see the creature looking up, gazing after her, and then slowly doing the backstreak, mirroring her.
Yeah,
and could only be done in the crystal clear waters of Florida, in a Florida pond that they found, in spring water. And the technology at the time with the cameras was brand new. All this kind of stuff. All the underwater shots were just amazing. And then the creature coming out on the boat.
Right.
And because eventually what happens is they discover that the creature's real. The question is whether to kill it or to let it be. Right. Yeah. And so it was the moral, one of the early moral quandaries of, is this do we kill the monsters? Yeah. And really, this is just, it's like... But
speaking of moral quandaries, here's the real question. Yeah. In terms of killing it or letting it be. Is Universal going to go back and remake The Creature from the Black Lagoon? I hope to God not.
No, I don't think you need to, because we just had Shape of Water.
Sure.
Which does it affect? It gives you the Beauty and the Beast story with the evil doctors doing who are experimenting, and the question of the morality of what to do with this thing that we found.
Should we place a bet?
Yeah. Unfortunately, I think I
don't want to see a remake just because I don't want to see a remake.
I don't think
this is not a favorite of mine.
No. Okay. But it is for mine. It is for me. And it is. I don't.
Came in number 72 on the Scariest Things podcast, top 100 list of 2022.
I think it's around 18 on my top 25.
It was on mine.
And
It was.
you can read my review of Mallory O'Mara's book, The Lady from the Black Lagoon.
Oh, yeah.
Heck yeah. An interview with her.
Yeah. Mallory, what's the name of the artist?
Lady.
The Lady from the Black Lagoon. Is
Millicent
Patrick.
Yep.
Yeah.
Who was one of the most talented people in the industry. She got all of her. Bud Westmore took all of her her credits, and she got shunted off to the side. It was a crying shame. She deserved better. But The Creature lives on. It is in full daylight, watching it go around and just stalk and capture Kay and take her back to its lair. It's like great. This is a gateway film for little kids if the little kids have a willingness to deal with old timey stuff.
Yep.
They don't.
Yeah.
I heaved it on both.
Don't.
I heaved it on both of my sons.
And did they
really?
Did they get
Yeah.
bored, or did they?
No, I think they were both okay with it. I think they were both okay, and normally they're not okay with that.
Sometimes you need Transformers and you need a million things happening at once. That's not what happens here. But the monster is great to look at, and it's
100%.
Yeah,
100%. All right, let's move on.
Moving on, Liz, back to your number 3.
Okay, my number 3. I hate to do this to our listeners, but I'm going to give them a film that has not yet been released, and I do not have a release date. I have emailed the guys at Welcome Villain who gave me the screener and have not heard back yet because I just emailed them like 2 hours ago. But this is 2023's Beaten to Death.
Okay.
I just watched this for Panic Fest. I gave it 4.5 out of 5, and I gave it 5 out of 5 for gore and intensity.
Okay.
This is
a woman who knows her gore.
Yeah, this is gory. Throw this on our new Aussie film pile with Talk to Me, Lady with the Devil, Monolith, and Godless, because this is also from Australia. It is directed by a gentleman named Sam Curtin. And I wrote in my review that it has probably the bloodiest opening scene I've ever seen, because we're introduced to our protagonist, Jack, as he's being pummeled in the face by one of the biggest dudes you will ever see. Like, this guy looks like the guy from Game of Thrones. Yeah. And he is able to defend himself, and he stumbles over the lifeless body of his girlfriend and is set out into the outback to try to, I'm saying in air quotes, get help, because the movie is called Beaten to Death, and it takes place in Australia. And as people know from our episode about horror from down under, it seems like nothing good takes place in Australia.
Also known as Wolf Creek.
In the daytime. Yeah. I mean, also known as Wolf Creek. So he stumbles into this house, and another enormous dude is like, show me what happened. And it is not the guy who he wants to show the scene of the crime to. So it's told through flashbacks of how did he even get out here. It's not giving anything away to say that his eyes get popped out, because all the posters have him with no eyes. It is, I don't know how this guy survives long enough for us to have this film. It is brutal. It is bloody. It is depressing. It does not have a happy ending, because that's the way I like them. And it is called Beaten to Death. And more than one person will be beaten to death in this movie. But I think they show the sun setting for about 10 seconds, and then he wakes up under the tree. So you're like, okay, that was night. There is no darkness in this movie at all. It is 100% in the day. And I guess it really doesn't matter, though, to him, because he's got no eyes. So.
And Liz, it says it was released in late 2022. So I'm guessing it was, so you can probably see it in Australia, and it will be here, I would guess,
probably, because it was at Panic Fest, and it was at another film festival. Welcome Villain has acquired it. Okay. And they just,
a lot of it's going to depend on
podcast. Malum will have come out. Take that as you will. If you want to watch that. Sometimes
distribution
more money
rights,
more problem.
Right.
But they have it, so I'm sure it will come out. It's a good film. It's a really good film. So that is Beaten to Death.
All right.
Read my review.
The last film of the night. I am talking about
your last night.
Yeah, the last film of the day. I am talking about at night, which might be the day if you're listening to it. This could be during the day. This is a 2008 British horror thriller film. The Children, directed by Tom Shankland. I knew nothing about this film, and I saw it on Tubi, and I said, I'm going to jump into it. This is a film that Time Out gave 4 out of 5 stars and said, this taboo-shattering movie taps into primal fears about the unknown ability of children, its blood-stained virgin snows, and insidious terror, recalling cruel fairy tales of demon child movies such as The Omen. This film all set in the day, save for, interestingly enough, the very, very intro, which is set at night. And what happens is that night, there is some sort of virus that takes over the children and turns them into bloodthirsty monsters during a Christmas vacation. It's a group, a couple families come together in this remote English countryside, and they bring all their kids together, and the kids start to go completely batshit crazy, which the film itself, it's amazing because the first act of the film, before the kids go completely crazy, is the families interacting together, trying to eat dinner, kids knocking stuff over, kids screaming, kids fighting, and it creates this very, very noticeable tension amongst all the people, and you start to get very, very tense because there's so much screaming going on in the film.
Right.
Not screaming in terror, but just kids being kids.
Right.
But then these little kids and medium-sized kids start to go bananas. And again, much like Eden Lake, I was shocked when I saw this because the brutality is really significant. And what they do to the parents is also very, very shocking and disturbing. And it's all set during the day. Not only is it all set during the day, it's set during the day in the snow. So it's even hyper saturated with light.
Right.
So it again, much like Eden Lake, it's sort of that dueling that dueling kind of taboo, which is, okay, you're not supposed to attack children, and this is all happening during the day.
Right.
Put those two things together, creates for a
Right.
very, very unsettling recipe.
Interesting.
They easily could, I won't spoil the ending, but they easily could slide into a children part 2. Although I think the film is incredibly complete as it is, and I would like for them to leave it alone, but I could see a children part 2.
Did they try and go supernatural?
Nope.
Or
Nope.
it was just a bunch of bad kids? Or
Which I also kind of appreciated. They don't do a lot of exposition, and they don't beat you over the head with it. It's like there's very, very sly allusion to some sort of virus.
So no children of the corn culty kind
No.
of.
The kids are coughing. Oh, they're just sick. It's the winter time.
Right.
Their
It's just
noses
a
are
bug,
running. Oh, it's just a bug that's running through the house. Don't worry about it. It's just kids being kids. Oh, no, it's not.
It's 28 days later.
It is not kids being kids. Yeah, go see the children. I mean,
tonight.
all these films, I was actually really shocked by, because normally I'll watch a bunch of films for the podcast, and there'll be one or two where I'm like, I'll put this one out there. It's not the greatest thing in the world. I was actually really surprised by all these daylight films that I've seen. The Night Eats the Day, the Eden Lake, and The Children, all really, really great films.
Yep. All right. For my last film, and I'm going to, since I didn't have my alternate here, I'm just going to throw out a shout to The Ruins.
Yeah,
Because that's like tropical heat on a pyramid in broad daylight, and things are getting under your skin. Nasty stuff. Shout out to Carter Smith.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go to one that I haven't talked as much about, which I have much admiration for, and this is 2016. It Stains the Sands Red.
Oh yeah,
directed by Colin Minahan, starring Brittany Allen, who is actually his wife.
Yeah,
who also did. I think she was also in What Keeps You Alive. Did a great job in that. And there's an actor named Juan Ridinger who plays Smalls, who is the zombie.
Right.
This is a one-on-one slow zombie trek through the Valley of Fire desert in Nevada. gorgeous setting, right? This is like they like wide panoramas, and a lot of the time that this is there's a car crash, or not a car crash. It's a Molly and her boyfriend are driving through from Las Vegas heading to Phoenix in his Porsche, and it breaks down in the heat. And they see another car crash ahead. And it's like, oh, that's interesting. So we check it out. And it turns out there was a zombie, and the zombie comes out and he kills the boyfriend, and she freaks out. She's a cabaret dancer in Vegas. She's totally not ready for this. She's not a final girl type, but she grabs a bunch of bottles of water and her fur coat and her purse,
as you do,
and
as you do.
She has to chuck her platform shoes and all that kind of stuff. So stumbling around, and it's the old trope of, it's like, he's a slow shuffling zombie, but he's persistent, and she keeps putting distance on him, and he keeps coming, and she's like, why don't you stop? And she takes water breaks, and then she has to go pee, or she has to go find shelter for the night. She's getting tired, and he just keeps shuffling. Though she manages to put a good bit of distance, but then he catches up. And there's this give and take where all of a sudden that she realizes, I can deal with this. It's just this one zombie. And she can find these places where he's just kind of out of reach. She's up on a platform, and he goes, kill you, right? No, he doesn't say anything. He's a zombie, but sure. But she's just out of reach, and so then she just realizes out of loneliness she's kind of a messed up character, where she needs to get back to Las Vegas because she's worried about her son, and now there's a zombie outbreak. Of course, who knows what's going on? She hasn't run into anybody else out there. This is in the middle of the desert, in this oppressive heat. And I think that's one of the other things for daytime horrors, and where you see things like The Hills Have Eyes.
Right.
You see some things like Tremors.
Yeah.
Desert landscapes offer great daytime horror things because the heat is a killer as well as your villain or your creature.
So does the English countryside, it turns out.
Yeah, apapparently so. And so does the snow. Although you don't last, the snow can be a killer.
Yeah.
But this was it's a very small movie, but it has big panoramas. It looks fantastic, and Brittany Allen is a lot of fun, and she eventually comes to appreciate Smalls, who actually comes to her rescue when she gets assaulted by a couple of hillbilly guys who come out, and it's like, hey, pretty lady, and she goes, no, and when she thinks that they're her rescue, and no, they are predators. And then Smalls comes to the rescue and jumps them. And so after that episode, she goes, I trust you. And he just kind of lurches around and he follows her like a magnet. It's fun.
To be clear, he does not talk.
Nope.
It's not like Bub.
He's a moaning zombie. Yeah, it's like it's the inferred kill you, but it's like
right.
Okay. So and it, classic zombie tropes where you can't trust, you begin to trust the zombie more than you trust the people who have survived.
Right.
So it's if you are a zombie completionist, you got to put this on your list. I wish that when we did our podcast with the Jersey Ghouls, that this was on the list, and that the Night Eats the Day. The Night Eats the Day.
Yeah.
Oh, that's not what it is. Is that what it's called?
Isn't that what it's called?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. So that's two great small zombie flicks, which are very, very single character driven.
Yeah. Very complimentary.
Yeah.
Yep.
So anyway, that is our horror in broad daylight. We've got
all great films.
Yep.
It's the Night Eats the World. Night Eats the Day.
World.
Yeah.
Well,
we got day on the brain.
Yep.
Yeah. Brains. Night Eats the World.
Yep.
Okay.
I will second a vote for Night Eats the World. I really like that.
Absolutely.
All right, I'm taking us out with the tagline from The Reflecting Skin. It's all part of the American dream. And when y'all are out there fighting zombies in the day, wear your sunscreen. Stay hydrated. Stay hydrated.
Words to live by. Thank you, Liz.
Good night. Good night or good day.